I love this movie. The Devil and Miss Jones. I love it. It's so good. It's great. Perfect. It's lovely. Um it's it's Gene Arthur doing what Gene Arthur does best, which is protecting sincerity, protecting the rediscovered sincerity of an inner child, protecting freedom. I don't fucking know. Guys, I've done so many videos lately. Okay. The Devil and Miss Jones is so great. I love this film. It's a pro-union, hyper-liberal film. Hell, uh, it's like if Frank Capra made a hyper-liberal movie that romanticized unions and the struggle of workers and worker rights and all sorts of awesome stuff. Uh, Gene Arthur. Let's do some context. Let's have some sort of order. Let's have some order here. Although I'm kind of burned out. Let's have some order. Because I do sincerely love this film so much. It's pretty inspirational to me personally. Um, I you name it. I've had so many different jobs. I've worked for so many different companies, and I've probably only been treated, I think, with any sort of dignity at two places. One of which was unionized. The other was just so small that that everyone knew how everyone was doing. That a union wasn't necessarily necessary. That's actually the job that I'm at now. I'm a wedding and event planner now. I have been for quite some time, but all these other jobs, I felt they're completely. I'm sorry, indignified. Um, it's terrible doing them. Hated every moment of it. And they're also not only weren't they unionized, but if you even like spoke the word union, you'd be fired. Says the training videos that they force you to watch about how evil unions are, and those places were so dehumanizing. I hated it. I hated it. It makes you hate yourself. You know, there's winners and there's losers, and no one cares about anybody. The Devil and Miss Jones. It romanticizes the idea of worker rights. It romanticizes worker protest, worker revolt. It romanticizes and it weaponizes the sincerity of people just trying to get by, good-natured people just trying to get by, and I think it makes a plea for that inner child in the heart of the predatory capitalist to just be a fucking good person for once. And that person, Mr. Merrick, is played wonderfully by Charles Coburn in this film. Some would say he even steals the spotlight from Jean Arthur as Miss Jones, but uh, I don't think Jean Arthur would mind that at all. This film was the first that was made by Frank Ross's, her husband at the time, Frank Ross's production company, because they wanted to get Jean Arthur better roles, and since they weren't coming from Harry Cohn or from anyone else, like Columbia Pictures or anywhere, honestly, they're like, well, we'll just do it ourselves. So they worked with Norman Krasna and came up with this wonderful film, and I think it really spotlights and highlights what Jean Arthur's actual politics were, because they get kind of murky. Not murky, they just get confused with Capra's because of how prominent she was in Capra's most intensely political and sentimental films. That Jean Arthur gets lost in the shuffle there. She was definitely not as conservative as Capra, and I don't even think Capra was as conservative as modern film criticism would have you believe. I think that Capra's conservatism was a reasonable one and was a humanist one. Unlike when Jean Arthur worked with John Wayne afterwards. She's like, if I knew how much of an arch conservative he was, I would have shot him on the spot. That's my girl. That's the mascot of the channel. You rule, Jean Arthur. But there's nothing about Capra's politics that would be like antithetical to Jean Arthur's. Because Jean Arthur was a fierce individualist. She was known in Hollywood for being difficult, nearly impossible. She was always voted like the most unpopular film actor, like the Sour Grape or Sour Apple Award from from media outlets because she refused to do interviews or do press junkets because she was hyper insecure. She had an inferiority complex, and everything within her rebelled against any sort of conformity, especially to that Hollywood scene, especially to being a typical starlet. She was. There's one thing that Jean Arthur always fought vehemently against. It was conformity. She was a nonconformist to the bitter end and a fierce individualist and the protector of the individual. That individual, I believe, is, some could call it inner child, some call it a newfound sincerity, but it's a rediscovery of your individualism. And that's really who Jean Arthur protects in her best roles, like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Mr. Deeds, and certainly the Devil and Miss Jones. I think she's so heroic here. I think she's so awesome. And she's such a generous actor because, like I said, she doesn't mind that Charles Coburn really takes center stage from her. She even said, "No, don't make my part larger just to appease me." She wasn't actually that egotistical, contrary to popular belief. She wanted Charles Coburn to have the main stage, and then even what's his name, Robert Cummings as her boyfriend in this film, her fiance, it was so good in this film. He has the best scene in the whole movie where they bring in Charles Coburn off the street in Coney Island, and police try to get him up on some bum charges, and they kind of bully around Jean Arthur and Charles Coburn, and they're making them feel very small and very helpless. But in comes fucking Robert Cummings, and he nails it. He puts these cops in their place, and he makes them apologize and drop all the charges, and then he leaves with Jean Arthur. Craziness is his particular brand of patriotism, and that's kind of what I love about Jean Arthur's lefty politics. Her liberalism is that it's fiercely individual above all else. The individual is not lost within any sort of collective or a union. In fact, the collective or the union highlights the individual qualities of its members, like Jean Arthur's character and like Cummings' character as well. It highlights them, it augments them, it even modifies them and improves them as people. Charles Coburn's character, the predatory capitalist who goes undercover inside of one of his own department stores in the shoe section to try to figure out who's been organizing all these protests and burning a dummy of his body in effigy in protest. He's trying to figure out who the defectors are, and that's his whole purpose. And of course, throughout the film, inevitably, he comes to really cherish and love these people, but treat them with dignity in a very dignified way. And he becomes an improved version of himself. He becomes revised. He becomes sincere. He rediscovers individualism, or even maybe discovers it for the very first time. And it's through the politics of the left that he does so. Through being around a woman like Jean Arthur, someone who you just want good things to happen to her, good things to work out for her, because she is so caring, because she is so thoughtful. And she's so considerate, and she just wants the best for everyone, and that kind of ignites a part of you, even the most predatory capitalist possible, to want the best for other people too. I think the film is wonderful. I think it's got a wonderful script. I think Jean Arthur, it's probably one of her best performances. It's one of my favorite characters of hers. It's a bit more understated than something like Clarissa Saunders or Babe Bennett from the Capra films from Deeds and Smith, respectively. But that's mostly because the idea of a screwball starlet, a feminine screwball starlet, was a bit more fast-talking and cynical and independent in the 30s. Come the 40s, it's more, I don't want to say homely, but it's more... it's more tamed, and I want that to have every problematic connotation imaginable, because this is where they start taming the screwball heroine, who I think is by far the most substantial and the most radical female archetype in the entirety of Hollywood. And starting in the 40s, that's where they start to whittle it down. But you can't get rid of Jean Arthur's radicalism entirely, her screwball radicalism. You can't get rid of it entirely. But you can see that there's more of a domestication. There's something that is tamed about the female archetype of screwball comedies in the early 40s, and that also probably explains why screwball comedies died by the mid 40s. That's probably pretty self-explanatory there, but she's still wonderful here. But if you compare her roles, like in The Devil and Miss Jones and The More the Merrier, Talk of the Town, to her earlier like Easy Living and like Mr. Deeds, if you compare her character to her earlier ones in the 30s, they're very fine, clear demarcation. There's a distinct difference between the two kinds of female screwball archetypes. And it wasn't just with Jean Arthur, it was an entire studio decision. I mean, it was a uniform decision throughout all of Hollywood to make their female archetypes a little less independent and cynical, and a little bit more faithful and maternal, maybe. But I mean, Jean Arthur would semi-retire from acting by the mid-40s, appearing every so often. I mean, her last film role would be in Shane in '53, but once she finished her contract with Columbia a few years after this, she was over it. You know, Jean Arthur was such an original, a complete original. And I mean that in the best way possible. I mean that in every way possible. Jean Arthur was stunningly original. Doesn't give me butterflies in my stomach. It puts fireflies in there. I feel a light. I feel ignited every time I watch a great Jean Arthur film. And The Devil and Miss Jones is a great one. It makes me feel really inspired. It makes me feel like, I would love to have pride in everything that I do. And most of what I do, I think, is work. I think that's a way for a lot of people, at least a lot of American people. I'm sure it's the same for other cultures as well, to varying degrees. I want to have pride in my job. And to have pride in your job, you want to feel some sense of camaraderie or brotherhood. You want to feel respected. And you want to feel like everyone is looking out for you. America is far too dog eat dog. Somewhere along the way, the smear campaign against unions really stuck. The Devil and Miss Jones always inspires me to try to create better working environments. Inspires me to reach out to my coworkers, talk to them, ask them how their day is. Get past the preliminary bullshit of like good weather and what's the agenda today, boys. It makes me want to ask, like, how they are. Are they hungry? Are they going through anything? Do you feel like a human here? Do you feel respected here? What would improve your working situation? Because, man, we work so many hours, and if you spend those hours feeling so small, then how are you not going to have some sort of either inferiority complex or some sort of residual pent-up anger misdirected? How are you not going to have that? It's hella important. It's probably the most important thing in the world, in the American world. To fight for basic human rights and human dignity at your job. What would Jean Arthur do? What would Miss Jones do? They'd never give up, and they'd never let you down. And somehow they could charm even the most selfish, most wealthiest, most unavailable capitalist in the world. films of the 40s were a lot more faithful than ones of the 30s. There was a lot more faith in them. The Devil and Miss Jones has a lot of faith. It puts a lot of belief and a lot of trust in a given and hoping that their audience is sincere. And if they aren't, that through the film they can hopefully rediscover that individual sincerity within them that makes them so worthwhile. Devil and Miss Jones is wonderfully made, wonderfully shot. Yeah, I've already said wonderfully acted. Jean Arthur was always slighted at the Oscars. Always overlooked her. I think she was nominated once, and that wasn't even because they actually thought she was great. It was like as a fuck you to Harry Cohn. With the Academy, she wasn't very popular. She wasn't very popular with anyone but the audience. The audience could see the genuine article. They could see the sincerity in that firecracker voice, and they could just see it. They could see that Jean Arthur was talking to them. Jean Arthur took acting so seriously. Was constantly preparing, constantly working on her character, trying to understand every movement of her, no matter what. She was a fascinating person. Some people have wondered if she was a lesbian or if she was asexual or not. That's always like the spicy thing to do, is to be like, well, she didn't have too many gentlemen callers and she hung out with this one chick, Mary Martin was her name. It's this one chick all the time. I bet they were fucking. But there was this a story called The Princess and the Goblin that went around that claimed that, very thinly veiled, it was very clear it was about Jean Arthur and Mary Martin having a sexual tryst or sexual relationship. But there's really no evidence for it. There's not a lot of evidence for being asexual either. I wish people would understand that, like, you're not asexual if you don't want to have, like, if you just don't feel like you're in the mood. You know, that just means that, like, you're just not wanting to fuck right now. I wish people would understand that. People want, like, the juicy. People want the exceptional or the spectacular. It might be funner to say that Jean Arthur was a closeted lesbian woman, or it might be more relevant to the times if she was asexual or some other kind of alternative thing. But the truth is, she was just a woman who wasn't at all interested in connections of almost every kind. So you can't say she's asexual if she hardly had any friends either. She hardly even hung out with people. If she was at a party, she would sit in a corner and read a book and just want to leave, almost go there out of obligation. She had an inferiority complex. She had a tremendous amount of enormous insecurities. She was an original. And you can't box an original into these check marks. You know, and I think she'd be so furious to see that people are just, yep, lesbian, check, asexual, check, or whatever the fuck they're doing lately. That seems to just fly in the face of the individualism Jean Arthur fought so hard for, and also flies in the face of every bit of historical data that we have, that she was definitely in love with Frank Ross. She was definitely in love with at least two men in her life. I'm not saying she wasn't bisexual or definitely encouraged any lesbian encounters, any gay encounters with Mary Martin. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm just saying that she wasn't a closeted lesbian and that she wasn't asexual. She was an original. I don't know, you guys. Jean Arthur is the most untouchable yet inspirational starlet ever. She's a mascot of the channel. She's one of my personal heroes. I've likened her to my spiritual Hollywood twin. And I mean, I'm certainly not asexual, but I definitely don't have any inkling, any want of romance right now. I can tell you that. I want to be alone. I just want to be left alone with my films and my books. I'll go to work, I'll do whatever. Just leave me the fuck alone. people make me anxious. I love Jean Arthur, and I love The Devil and Miss Jones. Thanks for watching this video. Hope it made some sort of sense, but also I don't fucking care if it did or not. These videos are more for me than anyone else. I'll take every opportunity to pay tribute to Jean Arthur, to pay homage to her, and to analyze her and explore her films as often as I can and as much as I can. I just love Jean Arthur. I'm tired, man. It's been a long day at work, and feel all fucking weird. The Devil and Miss Jones, though.